5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Off the Front Podcast. On this week's show, I'm joined by one of America's favorite cyclists who has a bigger-than-life personality and a contagious positive outlook. TJ Eisenhart has been racing his bike since he was a junior, making his way through the ranks of the Utah cycling scene. As a promising young talent, he became a professional road racer with the BMC Racing Team, then the Holowesko-Citadel team, which later became the Arapahoe Hincapie pro cycling team. TJ has been successful in some of America's biggest races, such as the Tour of California, the Colorado Classic, and the Redlands Classic. But then after the 2019 season, he went off the front, leaving the road cycling scene in the rearview mirror to pursue building his dream, the Imaginary Collective. I'm super excited to have TJ as my guest this week, and was really happy to catch up with him and to find out what he's been doing since leaving the road racing scene. As always, a quick shout out to Element for their continued support of the show. Element is a zero-sugar, keto-friendly electrolyte drink mix, with each serving delivering 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium, and is my go-to drink for long rides. If you still haven't tried Element, give them a try today. Head over to Element's website to receive a sample pack for just the cost of shipping. You'll find a link to your free sample in the show description. And now, let's get on to the show. TJ Eisenhart, welcome to the show, man. I'm super excited to have you on this week. A quick introduction for you. You are a former pro racer with the BMC Racing Team, the Holowesko-Citadel team, and also the Arapahoe Hincapie pro cycling team, which I think Holowesko and Arapahoe are the same team, just new sponsorship.
Yeah.
You've raced some of the top American road races, such as the Tour of Utah, the Colorado Classic, Tour of California. 2017 finished on the podium at the Tour of the Gila, and then won the 2017 Redlands Classic. And then after 2019, you stepped away from road cycling to pursue a new direction and a new idea in cycling, and that is the Imaginary Collective, and that is a brand focused on creativity and drive. And also, I've got here last that you are also a super talented painter and designer of apparel and bike kits, and just an all-around super cool guy. So I'm really excited to have you on the show, TJ.
Dang, what an intro. That's we could already wrap up the show now. That's good. That was, I appreciate that. No, that was thank you. I'm really humbled. Super excited to be on the show and just chat with you and share whatever you're interested in hearing from me. So I can't wait.
Awesome. Well, tell us, I just want to go back to the start. I'm curious to find out how you got into cycling. How did you become a cyclist in the first place? I'm sure that you rode as a junior, right?
Yeah, definitely. That's a funny story. That was a long time ago. So it was back in 2001. I had the opportunity to go to Spain. My brother was over there at the time. He was serving in a mission for the church we grew up in, and we went over because he had finished, and we were hanging out. And at that time, it was during the Tour de France was going through the Pyrenees, and instantly when our family just saw it, we were hooked, and we were chasing the race. And
nice.
As a young child, I was only maybe 8 years old, but I just, at this time in my life, all I remember is just that vibe, the environment, the colors, the emotion, the podium ceremony, all the people. You don't remember specifics. You just remember feelings and colors and things and vibes like that.
Right.
And instantly you just are hooked. You just were, I grew up totally, my family is very competitive and very sports driven. And I've always played baseball my whole life, and I'd always been involved in sports. There was no other option for me. Growing up, I don't even getting a job, that wasn't even an option. It was just either become a pro ball player or, become a pro. That's it. And then I fell in love with cycling when we came home from Spain, and every July we just turn on to watch the Tour de France. And I just would love waking up in the early mornings and just turning on the TV and watching it. And, it was just awesome, and then eventually I asked my dad to give me a bike because my brother and dad would go out and ride. And finally at the age of 10, my dad got me a Trek 2000 with like 650 wheels. It was awesome. We just got off eBay, and then we just always get my clothing, we're rich, so my clothing would come from secondhand stores, or my sunglasses would come from hardware stores. And but it was it wasn't about that, and it still isn't about that, which I'm trying to tell people, But I just was the moment I went out there with my dad and brother, I was hooked. It just was instantly an equalizer. You just instantly were equalized with your dad, your brother. Everyone was on the same level. It didn't matter the age. You all were out there on the road. You all had a ride. You know what I mean? So cycling has this great ability to totally it's just all, it always, once you step foot on a bike, you're instantly equal. Everyone, to me, it's just, a bike is the equalizer basically to any age, anything. It just always is nice. And so I just was hooked, started doing local races, local crits. And then next year I started people, when they saw me at first, were dang, this kid's really good. You should do racing. And so I started racing and won everything in the state, and then went to nationals, got second. This was at 12. I was 12 years old, and so you're all right. Everyone was okay, and I hate it now back then everyone's dang, this kid's got the potential to be the next Lance Armstrong.
Yeah,
and I just hate that the next that's limiting, it's limiting, and it just. I just, people were oh man, he's got talent. And so I just was then all in, and then from that moment on, it was all right, how do I was already in 4th grade, but I was focused on graduating high school. You're focused on getting ahead. So you're focused then on graduating early. So then I can move to Europe, and then I could actually be where you should be for the sport. You know what I mean? America is not where cycling exists. And especially now, and so if you want to be a professional cyclist, you should move to Europe. It's even more true now, it's why rallies all over there. But so that's kind of how I got started, was just fell in love with watching the Tour de France in person, and then just slowly but surely went up in it.
Nice. Well, that's I know that feeling that you're talking about. I guess the first race I saw was, I'm in Middle Tennessee, and the first one we saw was the Tour de Georgia back when they had that. Mm-hmm. And they, came through Chattanooga and did a time trial, and, seeing the big names show up was really cool. But I remember I lived in San Diego for a bit too, and watched the Dana Point Grand Prix out there. And, I just remember in the pro race, the Peloton came by with such force, and it was just this blur of colors, We were lucky in a crit like that. You could see it pass multiple times, but it was it's hard to describe though, just the power and the rush that goes by when a pro Peloton passes you. So I can totally understand how, to a young kid, how that would be life changing.
Yeah, it definitely was. Something that strong of a force definitely, can then pull you away from what everyone expects you to live in the real world. It's no, I get to play on my bike for the rest of my life, and I'm going to do that for the rest of my life. I'm always going to ride my bike for the rest of my life. Doesn't matter if I get paid to ride my bike or if I don't get paid to ride my bike. You know what I mean? I'm going to ride my bike. It's just in my DNA. And it's crazy that's just, I don't know, not many people ever get to feel that feeling, and I count myself super lucky. I always thought I was just different, or I don't know, but maybe it's just lucky I was able to feel that passion and know right at that age that nothing else mattered. You know what I mean? Like, why would I go to Boy Scouts?
Yeah.
Why would I go pursue this like in school? Why would I go mess around and do this when I could go ride my bike and pursue something now, which, you know, it's like I'm 27. Sorry. That's how my life, I feel like I'm retired because I've just pursued my passion my whole life. That, you know, I have other friends right now. It's like you wake up and you go to work, and or you are stuck at school and you're doing this and that. And it's like, man, every day is a weekend for me, you know, and that's just because I wasn't willing to put in that work when I was 12 years old, when nobody else thinks about doing that. I mean, I know people now that it's like, it's just the amount of dedication I have and had at that age. It's just not, you know, for me to think that I was like normal. It's not. It was like, oh man, I'm definitely not normal. You know, to be able to have this luxury that I built this life up for myself, and that just stemmed from that one moment in cycling. Is quite beautiful.
Sure. Well, and that's, you know, if you feel like you're retired now, that every day is that weekend, it also is because you've been doing the work since you were 12, you know, and so you've put in a full career.
You just realize as well, like, once you find your passion, I mean, it's like the cliche thing where, you know, you don't work a day in your life, but it's true. Like, I work every day in my life, hours on hours on hours. You know, if I'm not riding on my bike, I'm then in my art studio painting for hours on hours on hours. You know, some nights going to bed at like, you know, 1, 2 a.m., you know, because you're in the studio painting. But there's no schedule, there's no boss, there's no person to tell me to wake up and get this done or that done. It's literally, if I want to make money, then I know what I need to do. I need to go ride my bike, then perform better in races, enjoy races. I need to go in the studio, create and painting, sell the painting. Like, it's just simple. But I think we've created this, I don't know, this crazy game where we overcomplicate it, and we tell people and we tell our children to go to school, to get a job, to pay the bills. But it's like, we totally missed the point of, I mean, who knows what really is even after this? So why wouldn't we just enjoy this right now? And why wouldn't we pursue our passions right now? I mean, doesn't mean everyone is going to be a pro at this or that, or something, you know, this dumb thing. It's not like you're even going to be a millionaire, but you can live your life. You know what I mean? And it's like, I see people every day, and it's just like, you're locked up, you're doing your own thing. People talk negatively. They're around negative people. They're getting orders from someone they don't like. They're working with people they don't like. And it's like, yeah, I have a pretty luxury life, but I also, like you said, created that. And I won't put myself in a position to fold and, you know, go get just fall back into line, as society says, because it's like, I've never once, like I said, a paycheck relies upon whether I wake up in the morning and put the work in. So people like getting paychecks, like, I never once asked the government to send me a paycheck, because I realize, oh wait, my whole life I haven't had a job. My whole life I've actually created nothing out of something, and that's how I make my money. So to ask someone like, oh man, you go out and get it. Like, and again, it sounds sometimes arrogant, but it's not. It's a lot of times we just get in our way. We really just get in our way. We feel bad. We love to play the victim card. Oh man, this happened. But like, guess what? When you play that victim card, you're not going anywhere. I've played that victim card many times in my life. And like, the moment I stopped, my life just then went from like this to then boom. Yeah. You know, and you're just like, then I'm selling paintings like crazy. I'm getting sponsorships that I never thought I'd get. I'm doing things beyond my wildest dreams when I thought I was like not going to live my wildest dreams. You know what I mean? And it's like, everyone got hit by COVID last year. Everyone had that, like, imagine trying to sell art during that time. But I did. Yeah. Like, I did though. Like, I pushed through and I created again. And that's through my mind. You go out in the studio and you create. You know, you push past thinking, oh man, you know what? I don't know. But it's like, no, I go out in the studio and commit to myself, put hours into a painting, and I don't know whether that's going to sell, but I do know it's going to sell. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
You don't know if it's going to sell, but based off the work and, putting into the universe, it's going to come back to you, And so that's just, again, just super blessed with everything.
I'm a big believer in that, actually. And that's kind of the thing with this podcast. Even I was off. I'm a high school teacher. That's my normal job.
My mom is a high school teacher.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
God bless her.
Yeah.
Because
it's crazy.
You got days. Yeah. You got days where you wonder what you're doing, but
she come home all the time and, like loving her job, and she still is a substitute, and she taught for 40 years.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. Kids are, yeah.
So I was off last year. I was on an academic sabbatical. I started working on a PhD, and in the time when I was at home, and it was the same thing. Like I was at home, I had a year to be at home, to be my own boss. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to start creating stuff. And because I really had this creative drive that I wanted to make things.
Yeah.
And so I made this podcast, started writing a lot, and I really enjoyed it, and it was a really rewarding time. And like, I'm totally envious of the position that you're in, because you've been able to make that, and it's through your own hard work that you've put yourself in that really good position. And that's kind of what I believe with this podcast too, is if I'm putting my best into it, it'll succeed. People will find it. People will hear the passion come through.
That's why I'm not like soft or easy on people, to like feel sorry or, like I said, to victimize, because they can be I'm not even at the limit. Yeah. I'm going to be so much farther than I am. And that's the same with other people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the thing, is we limit ourselves to like, just, I'm going to do this. But like you said, once you open up that creative box, and it's like, a lot of people think like, oh man, you're an artist. Oh, I can never paint. That's not what an artist is. An artist is a creative thinker. That means you take a problem and you solve it creatively. I just do that. My money maker is just from doing that on canvas. But I do that in many other formats all the time, every single day, 24/7.
Yeah.
And same with you. Like last year, I built my own podcast. I did this, and that helps you expand that creative bug, of like, oh, this is, podcast, you're learning the art of conversation, or writing, you're learning how to be a little bit more poetic with your words. And, I love like Hunter S. Thompson. I study him all the time. I listen and read his work all the time. I love Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp's incredible, but like these people, it's like I said, it's about exploring your passion and not being afraid to do that. I think a lot of us are so afraid to allow ourselves to explore passions and fun things, because we think it'll waste our time. But it's like, I have many friends that, I have a good friend here who also one day was like, no, I'm going to quit my job and just pursue photography. Guess what? He wasn't making tons of money right away, but that's not, he started slowly chipping away. I had another friend in Wyoming. Like now he also was like, he's blessed to live in Wyoming. So he's surrounded by beautiful animals, but now his work photos are like in National Geographic, and he was, again, also like, just had a normal job. And it just shows like all it takes is just that courage to realize, oh, I'm not doing this to like leave my job. I'm doing this because I enjoy it. I'm doing this. And that enjoyment then turns into passion, and passion turns into fuel. And that fuel then burns into, then you're creating craziness, because I could love to paint and paint every, once in a while, or every, do a painting once a year and never sell it. Or I could paint every day and have crazy amount of works, and be able to sell things all the time. And that's the difference. Like, it's just about how much fuel and passion you're putting into your, love. And we don't allow that for ourselves.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's one of the things with you too, that people do pick up on. And I think surely helps in your success too, is people pick up on your positivity and your passion for what you're doing. And that's what I really believe too, even with the podcast or with writing or art or whatever your creative outlet is that if you're passionate about what you're doing, people pick up on that. And I think that drives success a lot. Not that it's all about success monetarily, but it's, just that you're able to continue doing that. But I think that, your passion for what you're doing and that positivity is always just, it's in everything you do. I remember when you were designing the kits with Hincapie, you did the Columbia one.
Yeah, that one was crazy.
I've still got my award just the other day.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
I mean, there's crazy details into it.
Yeah.
I mean, and the thing is, too, like that one, there's a crazy story even behind it. And it's like, not even going to, that it's like details I put into my work that it's like, it's just there,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've just always been a positive guy, I guess.
Well, every time I've talked to you, have been, and I'm sure that's part of you. So let's move on, and kind of what we're headed toward is, so like you had this successful cycling career on the road with some impressive results, and then you kind of just stepped away from it all to start a new thing. And for those who are not familiar with the cycling community and culture, like new ideas seem rare in cycling. It's always pretty much the same thing. So what you did was, you started the Imaginary Collective.
Yeah.
And it was a whole new thing. And it was new with how you were getting sponsorships. And the whole thing was different. Will you tell us about that?
Yeah, I mean, Imaginary Collective, I started it with my good friend Andrew Dahlheim. We raced for Hincapie together, and we just always were you could just feel it was good energy and good ways, and like you could start something here. And I don't know, it just felt like I needed something different in the sport. I just felt like I was swimming up a river, not going with the current. I just was swimming up it, and I was in the right river. I was, on the bike, but I just wasn't, some reason it wasn't clicking. I felt like I was putting in all the work. I felt like I was doing this, and it's like, that can happen sometimes. And sometimes if we're too stubborn to change our ways, then we'll keep hitting that wall. You know what I mean? It's like, sometimes we just have to turn and go around it. And one day that just kind of like, it was the day before Unbound in 2019, and I was kicking with Finney, and we were talking, and he was like, "Oh man, what are you gonna do next year?" And I'm like, "Man, if I had the money and I had the capital, I'd do this, set this up, and I didn't really think. I mean, at that time, you're still pretty nervous, like to do anything solo." Because in cycling, and if you're growing up in cycling, you're always used to just, I don't know, as an athlete, being put in line and just doing what you're told. Whether that's like as a junior, your parents put you in the race and you go, like, or as an adult, then your coaches, like, and then your directors. So you're like, not to say you're babied, but you're definitely way babied. Like, it's a different world. You're in this bubble. And then, so to leave that bubble, that's why so many people are afraid to leave it. Even though they'll ride for free, they'll ride for no money, and it's just because that bubble is this security, and so to leave it, it's kind of like always a little scary at first. But when I was talking to Finney, we were talking, and then we did Unbound. The next few days, I was home. He calls me up. He's like, "Yo, dude, let's do it." And I'm like, "What? You're gonna leave? Like, you're getting paid tons of money." Like, tons of money, like, all right, let's do it. Like, because we've been homies since, like, 2016, and we really connected with art. Like, that's our greatest passion, and we're basically just brothers. Like, he was my best man at my wedding, like, just my brother. Like, someone you can not talk to all year, and then talk to him, and it's like nothing happened, like nothing, like time didn't even pass. It's pretty cool. So to have his, like, then that shot me into like next drive, like, all right, I'm out of this. Like, I'm going to be kicking with T next year. Like, let's do this. And like, then me and him, and like, I was like, oh man, I don't know how serious he is taking it. But then like we were passing notes back and forth, like papers like, oh, sponsorship ideas, let's get this person, this, let's do this, let's name ideas. And you're like, all right, he's taking it serious. This is sweet. And then, but the issue was like, as we got going, like I was about to have a family. I did have a family. Like I just had a baby at that point. And so I couldn't not get paid next year. And so Taylor though wanted to like not get paid at all and be able to just be like totally free. And sponsors though didn't like that idea like of paying and then giving product and then him wearing like maybe another like jersey or a helmet.
Right.
So we both just were like, yo, man, like he's just gonna do his own thing because he's doing his own thing, and I wanted and so me and Andrew, we just kicked it up, and having Andrew's like support, we just started hitting up all these brands, but we had to be careful because we couldn't hit up any brands that were conflicting with Hincapie, just because I'm a gentleman like that, but as soon as all the brands found out I was leaving Hincapie, they wanted to leave Hincapie and come to me. So it was pretty sweet. So then, like, you're telling all these people, all these brands, like, your idea. You're like, the first year or two, we're not, like, interested in, like, results or anything like that. Because, again, I wasn't coming into gravel because I, like, wasn't good at road and I wanted to, like, win and dominate the gravel. Like,
right.
I wanted to come into the gravel because when I did Unbound, like you wake up at 6 when you're starting the race at 6 a.m. and all those people are there, and you enter the gravel section for the first time, and the sun is rising over those fields, and it's like the fog is over those fields, and it's like it's just the environment is crazy and the culture is crazy, and the fact that you can have someone take it as serious as like Pete Stedna, and you can have someone not take it as serious as it could be like their first event ever. And I love that everyone starts on the same line, same course. Everyone can have the same, like, way different stories, but like you don't have that in anything else. You can't race Tour of Utah. Nobody can relate to me on my stories of Tour of Utah except for the people who raced with me at Tour of Utah.
Right.
So it's like you can't. But if someone goes and does Leadville, me and you can talk about that all day. I can talk more to someone, like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it just connects you in this another world, and it allows, and it truly shows that the bike is one love, and it's not that elitist quality, and I love that. And so again, I wasn't wanting to come into the culture and like spitting on it with like my road past and like, oh, look at me, I'm a road cyclist, successful, this. It was like, if you're even talking about your past, that's a form of your ego. Like, if you're even holding that on your shoulder, like, I don't have any, like, trophies up of any of my past, like, anything, like, jerseys, anything like that. Like, that's living in the past. You should be focused on what you're doing now to push you forward.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not that person that won those, like, TT nationals, or those are a different time in my life, and I've accepted that I'm a different person. Like, most people don't accept that, and that's what holds them back. But I was like, no, I want to evolve. I want to learn what makes gravel special. And, a lot of people I knew, like, wanted to pay us money, but I was like, nah, this wouldn't work. Like, I know what your incentive would be. You'd want to have this quality. And so, like, a lot of times last year, like, we just totally rode for free, where, like, I told the sponsors, like, I'll prove you, like, I'll show I always want to show my value, because I will. Like, I'll always prove my value. It always, like, I'm not the person that sits around, I'm the person that's I would rather get paid for doing more than be held at, like, a single paycheck, because I'll always do more. And so, yeah, it just was, like, funny just doing that first year last year, and with then COVID hitting, and like we had one race at Epic Rides, 24 Hours of Old Pueblo, and it's a mountain bike race, and we rode the our gravel Mount Factor Vista there, and I got a lot of like press there, and it just was about like, all right, if we're having this year that doesn't have a lot, how do we capitalize on that, and how do we I don't know, think creatively. And so I did like a lot of art things for a lot of our brands. I did a lot of different things, but yeah, that's just kind of why I built Imaginary Collective, was just to totally be this entity of freedom where it's like any brand, anything can come to us, and it's not limited to like, oh no, we already have a cycling, we already are doing this, or no, we're just focused on this race program. It's like, what? No, let's focus on creating our own coffee beans. Like, let's focus on creating, our own clothing line. Like, let's focus on doing this. Like, let's focus on building this. Like,
right.
I'm about leaving a legacy, not about just getting paid, and that's the beauty with my artwork. My artwork has given me totally absolute freedom in my cycling, because then I don't even have to like charge my sponsors, because what they could offer for 1 year, I get paid in one painting. So what, like, you think I make more money in 1 week than all my sponsors, for 1 year. So it's not a disrespect to them. It's just that if they don't have the money to pay you, they can't expect certain things. So then you have more control, and then they want you more because you're not even asking for money, because you're already making a lot of money from doing your art. So then you're having your sponsors having to see you in a different light and perspective, where, oh, wow, he's making more money from his art than most people here in even our office are making from their job. Like, oh man, we should definitely look at, bringing him on to do an art collection with us, or a Giro collection with us, or this or that, and it's like, yeah, absolutely. Getting that respect for my art is way more valuable to me than my riding, because
I think that's really cool. And, I'd never really thought about that, it gives you total freedom, but also when they come to you and ask you to do something like that, it's not because they want people to see you riding with, like, on their bike or with their helmet or whatever, because they like what you're doing, and they want to be part of that.
Well, and that's the beauty of me getting paid outside, is people know that I'm not a fraud.
Yeah.
Because then the sponsors I am working with are my family, because I chose them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, we came together, and it was like, no, I like you. Like, it wasn't because we came together because of money. You know what I mean? Where basically, like, you go out there, any YouTube pro or whatever, like, all their jerseys are covered in sponsors. They're 40 years old, and you're like, man, every year you get in a new sponsor, and they're offering you this, and it's like, why not just chill, build a family, and build something off it? But it's crazy how cyclists just have this rabbit mind mentality, where they're just like, give it, quick, like, and then it's like already they're like interested. Like, I had my friend at Envy asked me, like, yo, dude, have you already started talking to people about like next year's sponsors? And I'm like, it hasn't even like crossed my mind, because you're like, if people want to stay on board, they can stay on board. If not, it's not bothering me. You know what I mean? Like,
if you're providing that value, if they like what you're doing and you're doing it because it's what you want to be doing, then they'll stay on board. You're
liking what they're creating, then you're able to create better. You're able to be more creative. You're able to be more authentic. You're not just promoting, I never post like, go eat this bar, it's the best. It helped me win this race. Like, what? No, it didn't. Like, a donut could have fueled you, Like, don't be, like, everyone is so different as well, So it's like a lot of people like laser helmets. Mm-hmm. I like Giro. A lot of people like, Specialized. I like Santa Cruz. Like, you got to find your culture and your vibe. And then in order to hold on to that and actually really create something special and unique where people are actually drawn to it, it's got to be real. Like, again, like, if I was chasing a check and riding for this bike company because they're paying me a lot more, or this company because they're paying a lot more, a lot of people want to believe it. Like, the legacy would fade, and I would look like every single person out there. You know what I mean? Like, There's nothing that separates those people who just email the brands and are like, hey, can you send me this free gear or this? Or, oh, you'll pay me $1,000, sweet. It's like, what? Somebody sends me like free product that doesn't get them any right or any hold on me. But a lot of times brands will also think like, hey man, I just sent you like a free drink thing. Like, yeah man, where's the check then? This brand's paying me this. Like, of course I'm not going to post about, like, I'm more than happy to sample your drink, but I'm not going to post about it. Or I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just about knowing what you're doing and like also allowing people to talk about it.
I think it's cool. And like I said, that's the way you're able to do that is going to make you happier in the long run too, because you're not, having to do these things that your sponsors want you to do. It's not about being seen in their gear or posting pictures on Instagram holding their drink or their bar or whatever. You're doing what you want to do, and so it's making you happier. It's going to make you continue to be creative and to do what you love doing, which is in turn going to make them want to stay closer to you and keep supporting you because they like what you're doing. And so, I mean, I think that's a really smart way that your idea on how to do these sponsorships. It reminded me a little bit of how like the Williams brothers with Legion, and I think they kind of had a new idea, a new direction for cycling too. And of course they've got sponsorships and that's fine. But like they created like Legion as, it's not a sponsor. It's just a team name and it's not going to change. So in 20 years you can be a Legion fan still.
Yeah. I love how that shell shocks people. Like what? That really surprised you?
I love it though.
Like people were like shook by that. Like, oh my gosh, they have a name. Like what? Yeah, you never thought of every team in the world has a name. Yeah. Like people don't think of like cycling is so used to being, and it's like, I mean, it's funny. Me and Justin, Corey, everyone on that team. I'm super. Me and Tyler even have our podcast. But we're all I know them all super well. Like that year in 2019, in February, I called up Justin and was like, yo, dude, like, that was before Legion was like really, really like rolling. And like, this is 2018. 2019. Yeah, 2019. And I just like already in January was sick of the like road nonsense. Like I just was tired of it. And I called him up and I was like, dude, like I was like, I was just planning on going to Legion. Like I was just planning on racing for Legion. Like, and that would have been a rad experience. Like, like they crush it. Like they're the coolest. They're the coolest road team out there by far. And like, it's way cooler than anything else any other team is doing out there. I mean, they're crushing it and it's just them. You know what I mean? Like, they're just the ones hustling, and it's like people like talk trash on them, but they're the ones who like Justin and Corey are the ones who are out there actually setting up the tents to then sell the merch. They're the ones who had the ideas to do that. They're the ones who had the idea. So it's like, but people are always jealous of what they want. You know what I mean? And hate on what they want. And that's what's like just funny is like people talk so much trash on like this or that, and it's like, man, you guys are just jealous. Like. They also were they won the race and also set up a merch tent and took it down. They won the race and like did this. So it's like you guys aren't even willing to like think about that. That's the thing is like cyclist minds are like that. They don't think past training. Whereas like people like me and Corey and Justin, when we get together, it's just like we just blast off with creative, juices. But then like I said, when I talked to Finney that year. Later in that year, I was like, nah, I called up Justin. I was like, I just got to do my own kind of project. You know what I mean? But it's like, and it's true. Like I'm not a team. Like I love the team, but I don't want to be like, oh, TJ, you got to be at this race. You got to be at this race. You got to do this. You got to do this. It's like, that's not even my personality. That's not who I am. Like if all of a sudden, like, I got to be like, I'm the type of guy who sits in my studio till who knows when. And then it's like, oh man, it's 2 p.m. I should go for a bike ride. All right, I'll go for a bike ride. Oh man, I got to get home. Like, let's go kick it with my baby and my my wife and my daughter. Like, oh man, like, so I'm not the type of guy anymore that's like, all right, I want to go pursue the road scene in any format or like any held down with any of that. like I want to, like, again, I don't even call myself a professional rider. I just call myself what I am, an artist, you know, and like that's all I want to be known as is like, okay, like, you know, TJ's an artist. He's not a cyclist. He's not a professional cyclist at all, you know. Yeah, I mean, people are silly. I mean, cycling's the best way to be creative. It helps release so much, you know, endorphins, and helps your blood flow. You see so many things, like you just can't help but not be inspired.
Oh, yeah.
You know, just from the last few paintings I've been working on with these moose paintings, like that are all like sold and commissioned. Like it's for me mountain biking, like being actually up in the Aspens in the Utah and seeing the moose is like, you know what I mean? Like it's cycling opens up doors that it's like, it helps my creativity. And so that's how I know it's like, I never could be like, oh, I'm going to leave cycling, never ride and just pursue art. I couldn't do that because then art would be hell. So then I would like, but the moment when I signed pro with BMC, I like back when I was 18, I was like, all right, I'm not going to focus on anything else in my life but cycling. And that was the biggest mistake, because then when I wasn't focused on anything else, when the cycling was going bad, it felt like your life was going bad. You know what I mean? You let your ego kind of get caught up in the bike. And then like, you also then, I wasn't able to ride for a minute, like outside and enjoy it, because if you look down at your power and your power was low, you'd feel super self-conscious about yourself, which is just crazy. You know, I had to take 2-year break. You know, I took 2 years of a break away from any power units, anything like that. You know, I had sponsors hit me up and I was like, no. Like, I do things because like I'm passionate about it, and I do things because I have meaning and I'm an artist, not because I want to get paid, because I'm a brand like ambassador. And so when sponsors are hitting me up, it's like, no, it had to be the right feel. And like now, finally, after 2 years, you know, after doing Leadville, I was like, you know what, like I want to get back into like seeing my numbers again. I like doing this, and that's when like my partnership and relationship with Garmin just bloomed. You know, Walter over there hit me up, and like it just blossomed where it's like, man, I grew up idolizing the brand Garmin. You know, everyone loves Garmin. They started, you know, basically the GPS, you know. So it's like, it was pretty amazing. The fact, again, like, I don't know, I just said things, when you're patient and you do things deliberately, and you then get things that you never thought would come, you know what I mean? Like, I could have maybe settled for another brand for some type of power unit, but it was like, man, now I feel like, again, all the brands I'm working with are the best. You know what I mean? Pirelli tires, they come stock on Lamborghinis. They're the only brand. They're the only tire used in Formula One. So, you know, it's like all these brands. I was just you pick, you know, and you choose, and it's amazing.
That's the way to do it. I think that you, and also to kind of bring them up again, Corey and Justin Williams, and those guys, you know, they're still in the road scene, and I hope they're able to stir up that scene so much that it changes the way road cycling is. I think that'd be great. And also you're doing that too.
Yeah.
As far as that relationship with sponsors, and where you're picking the ones that you feel are right, you know?
Yeah. Something I come to learn, and just like think or ponder, I guess, like when I was in my studio or out on the bike, you know, it goes back to just being totally yourself, and like just creating what you think is cool, and you doing what you think is cool. Because the moment you start to try to like do something because others expect it, or do something because it's just the path that's next ahead of you, that's then when you start losing that spark. And like you start, then it's like I don't know, just like having this like cool, it's like having your own cup of water and pouring it into the ocean. Like you're not going to do anything. You like roadside. That's the thing people got to understand is like Justin and Corey and Legion, they're not stirring up road cycling. They've created their own genre. And that's what people don't get. It's like, even myself, I'm my own genre. Like, I'm not trying to be someone else. I'm not trying to be Peter Stetina in the gravel scene And Legion's not trying to be Sky on the road scene. Legion is Legion them everywhere they go. They're their own genre. Like, but them trying to then dip into like road cycling, like people don't want that. They think they want that. They don't want Legion to go to Europe, because to go to Europe, I like, it's nothing against anyone, but it's just not going to be as successful as people think. And that's just because it's different. It's like me painting a painting and taking it to a sculpture gallery. Like, what is two different things? They're beautiful, but they're different. They're art, but they're different. Like, you just brought the wrong thing into the wrong building. You know what I mean? Like Legion is crit racing in America. People should be saying, oh, crit racing should be coming back, not road racing, because Americans don't want road racing. They like watching road racing on TV, but you're not going to drive out and watch 6 hours of a road race. You kidding me? And like, you're going to stand outside your door and watch them pass for 30 seconds and then not see them again, and then just go and turn on the TV and watch the finish. You could just stayed in the house and watch the TV the whole time. People want Americans want crit racing. That's the culture. And that's why Americans are so hypocritical with their cycling, because they're like, oh man, road cycling, this, European culture, cycling. If you love it so much, move to Europe. Like, why is football not popular in Europe? Why is basketball not as big as in Europe? You know what I mean? Like, it's big, but it's not soccer in Europe. Like, people need to accept that, like, oh, you're cycling, and like, people will say like, oh, do you think Tour of California, Tour of Utah, these will come back? Nope. I'm like, no, and they shouldn't. They shouldn't come back. They'd be dumb. Like, if a sponsor's out there and they hear this, they should listen, because they'd be stupid for investing in it. They should go invest in crits. Oh yeah. They should go invest in gravel races. They should go invest in mountain bike races, because guess what? Those are laps. Those are loops. People can be invested in that. Guess what? A gravel race sells out in minutes when a local road race won't sell out at all. Like, people who are putting on gravel races are making millions of dollars, while people who are trying to put on a pro race are going bankrupt. It's like, and they keep replaying the same recipe. Like, even these road teams, like, it's like, man, you keep playing the same format. Like, that's why I don't follow anyone, or I don't try to be anyone, because I'm not them. And again, like, they're on their journey. I'm not trying to be a roadie or try to create a team. Like, I wasn't trying to create a team. Like, if I couldn't, like, again, it wasn't like I was going to bring on people. We're going to go to these races. We're going to win this, and we're going to have a swan year. We're going to have a mechanic. It's like, man, what? No, we're going to show up. Like, if I want to do the crit the night before the gravel race, I'm going to do the crit the night before the gravel race. Oh, but that will waste energy. I don't care. I don't care if I finish the gravel race. Like, that's the beauty. You know what I mean? Like, people need to just accept for things that they are, and like their art. Like, again, Legion is just, it already is its beauty. Like, people want it to, like,
I know what you mean.
People never accept things. Like, it's just like they want it. It's always not good enough until they're like, oh, dang, that was cool. Oh, man, too bad that went away. It's like, well, you guys are the ones who kept adding to the flame to, like, try to push them to do things that was, like, not in the book, or, you know what I mean? People would, like, come up. It's like, man, let them just be totally creative. Like, you know, Justin they all work with very creative brands like Zwift, Red Bull, all these brands, just as myself, you know? And it's like, you can be creative with that. And so just let them, like, you know what I mean? Like, everyone wants to put their point of view into it. And it's like, I don't call anyone up and tell them, yo, dude, you should be doing this. It's like, no, I don't know what you should be doing, because that's you. But again, only certain people have that energy inside them to actually, like, have the patience to listen to that spirit inside them that will tell them what to do. You know what I mean? It's like, most people just turn on the TV in the morning and, oh man, that little spirit can't talk. You know what I mean? But if you go meditate, you're going to hear what, you know, you go out in the studio, then you go ride, then you go do this. Like, it just will pull you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm at home all day, but yet maybe watch like an hour of TV You know what I mean? Like,
and I'm sure it's not the most rewarding hour anyway. But, you know, back to that point with people, you know, wanting Legion to become something else, or for, you know, trying to build it up. Like, that's why the Tour of California, which was by any measure a great road race, is not around anymore, because they were trying to push it to be a European road race. And like you said, and I totally agree with that point, that Americans don't want that. They want to watch that on TV, but that's not what's going to, you know, for sponsors who are out, it's not going to work.
I was at the start and finish lines of all those races. Where was everyone?
Nobody's there.
Like, nobody's there. They're more than happy to turn on Tour of California online, but, like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, nobody's out on those roads like they fantasize like they are in France. Like, when you're literally there in Europe, it's crazy, the fans. Like, at 18, 17, you're getting off the bus and you're feeling like a rock star because, like, people are everywhere. So you're signing autographs. And then you're coming home and it's, like, weird because nobody cares about cycling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then we like to pretend we like we do, but no, we like very intense things. We like fast things, and we like things like where we can party and tailgate. Like, to be honest, like, people love that. So that's why they love crits, where people can get
that's
crazy.
why the USA crits.
Why they love gravel races. Like, it's why gravel races, mountain bike races, people, you know, aren't afraid to enjoy themselves. Whereas road racing, everyone goes there. It's like, oh, man, I got 10th today. Today was a big disappointment. Oh, man, I got a flat in the race. Like, that's the biggest beauty now is, like, if I would have got a flat at Tour of Utah, you know, taking me out of a situation, that would have ruined, like, a big chunk of my year. But, you know, because you're so focused on a race, whereas now it's like if I flat at any event, I flatted at tons of events, and, like, you just ride. You know what I mean? You just get back, fix your flat, and you just ride your bike, and the race isn't over because your race is over, and that's why I love gravel so much. It's like, it's not about you. Like, in road racing, it's all about the individual, and everyone likes to pretend it's the team, but it's all about the individual, where gravel racing is actually about the community, even though it's put on as an individual. Like, you start as an individual. There's more teammates and more friendly people I've ever met in my life in gravel racing than I ever met in road racing. The most, like, you know, like, kind of rude people you meet in road racing, because it's either, the mentality is it's either you or me, you know?
Well, and like I said, and you've lived this life, but imagine being so delicate or whatever that a flat tire ruins your season, or it could ruin your day even.
Yeah. Oh, man, it would do more than ruin your day. You'd be pissed. Yeah, like, but that's just, again, that's just the difference in mentality, and finally, like, realizing that, oh, man, my life is not around, my life is my life. It's not around the bike. You know what I mean? Like, the bike is just a thing that circles around me. Like, I don't circle around the bike.
You know, I was going to ask, you know, about the changes from road to gravel, but that's probably one of the biggest differences, is that your life doesn't circle around the bike anymore. It's just part of your life. It's something you do to help get those creative juices flowing. When I go ride, I have the best ideas ever on the bike, and I'm not even trying to think, because it just comes to me.
Definitely.
You know, and it's I don't know why, definitely. But you know, so this podcast is actually, I'm trying to aim it at the 40-year-old plus cyclist who enjoys riding and wants to improve. And I wanted to ask what improvements you've made to your training since moving to gravel. And it may be, you know, just the mindset, and it probably is after talking to you, just the mindset and the attitude. You know, like, I'm sure that your happiness from what you're doing now translates onto your bike too, where, you know, I don't know if it translates to the numbers. Who cares, really? You know what I mean? Like, you're enjoying riding your bike. You know, that might be the best thing that people need to hear, is just don't take it so serious. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, definitely don't take it so serious. That's number one for everything in life. We take everything we take ourselves way too seriously all the time. But like, I don't know, for me, I didn't increase my training at all when I switched to gravel. It actually, like, decreased dramatically, where it was like, maybe would ride, you know, 8 hours a week.
Right.
But last year it wasn't about, again, my mentality wasn't about winning. It was just about being there at those events. And my mentality was focused on building, imaginary collective and building my art and building that base, everything like that. And also this year, once I signed with Santa Cruz, it was like, oh man, I just signed with the biggest mountain bike brand in the world. Like, I should really learn how to wheelie. And so like, you then switch the focus on, instead of training, like on in sense of like endurance, you focus on skills. So all this year it was just focused on like, all right, I'm just going to learn how to ride a wheelie. So then you're just popping it back and forth in front of your house like a kid, and then like eventually you get good enough where you're riding down the block, and then eventually you get good enough you're riding around the block, and then eventually you get good enough you're riding like everywhere. And then you just practice skills though like that. Like you go ride trails that push you. You go ride hard technical stuff to push you. You go like you get to focus. Control, power is nothing without control. So it doesn't matter if I go train and do all this stuff. If I don't know how to ride my bike once I hit these hard sections, then it doesn't matter. And also it was like I'd mastered riding my road bike, like gone as fast as I could probably go. Like people still can't beat my climbs around here. It's like I couldn't. Like I had reached, and so it was like, all right, I want to challenge myself and learn how to ride. You call yourself a pro cyclist, but yet you couldn't even ride a mountain bike. I could barely, and so it was like, no, I want to learn how to ride like all bikes and like be able to jump off, be able to go do a crit, be able to go do an enduro race, be able to go do a gravel race, be able to go do an XC race. And like, yeah, you might not win all of them, but you're up there and you're doing it and you're having fun in it and you're skilled enough to like, it's like now one of my favorite things to do is pop wheelies on rides, and it's like it allows you to have so much fun, but it's like people are so afraid of like the skills, so they never want to go out and work on it because like people are afraid of what they look like practicing skills. People like adults, 40-year-old men don't like to go
to the park,
like a park and ride their bike on grass and work on, skills, or ride their bike, work in a parking lot. Learning how to go to corner, it's like everyone loves the word I know, you know what I mean? Like they love like, oh no, I already know how to do that. I already know how to corner. I already know that. It's like, all right, if you know, then why are you a beef in the beef flight, or why are you cat 3 still? Like, why are you not even listening? And it's like, I listen to all the pros all the time, man. Like, if Keegan Swenson's going to tell me how to ride my mountain bike, I'm going to listen to him. If like, Payson McLeod, if he's going to tell me how to ride, I'm going to listen to him. If all these people are going to like, you listen to people that are actually pros. And that's, again, goes to the respect of like, I didn't come into this like saying I was the best because I knew I wasn't, you know what I mean? Like there's way better people have been riding that. Like just says, I get real offended when people act like they can go to the pro peloton. You get 40-year-old men who think that all the time. Man, I'm 40 years old. I'm winning all these Cat 1 races. My numbers are crazy good. Yeah, your numbers might be good, but you don't get it. Like, there's more to it. Like, you did this good. You did well in one race on one weekend. Now wake up and do that 7 times in a row or 21 times in a row. Like, go, like, then travel. And that's not even the difference. Like, all right, go do this race. Then get on the plane that night and fly to this country. And then do this race, and then get on the plane that night and fly to the next country and do this race. Like, it's all these things people don't respect. It's like, man, I've been putting my whole life into this. Like, just as like I don't go to a law office after watching Law and Order and act like I know what I'm talking about. Like, man, get out of here. Go study. Like, listen.
I'd say any 40-year-old that thinks they can go to the pro peloton, and especially, the European pro peloton, they've just not been around it enough.
You just don't have a life then at that point. Like, it's not rude. It's just you as soon as I met my wife and had my daughter, like, I just knew my career, my life was going to be different. As soon as I met my wife, because I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to go to Europe at that point. Like, why would I want to be away from them? Why would I want to do this? And again, it's not just about that. Like, people have this fantasy, like, guess what? You're not going to make any money. Even if you make it to the European peloton, guess how much those domestic pros are making? 60,000 euros.
Yeah.
Like, That's pro money. Literally, are you kidding me? They're making that. That's literally what people like laugh at over here. Like, and then actual pros here in the States, like in the NBA, and like, are you kidding me? So it's a big difference between thinking like, oh, once I get there, my rewards will be paid off. Once you get there, guess what? You got to step it up even harder and hustle even harder, because then you put on 1-year contracts, and then like, it's just, people don't get that. So it's like, if you want to pursue that life. But I guarantee you're not going to have a life, or you don't have one at this moment if you're willing to give that up. Because, again, you got to move to Europe. You got to be training literally. You got to be putting in like almost 30-hour weeks every week. Like, now the training is crazy because, like, without like crazy drugs in the peloton, they're literally looking for every single advantage they can get. So that means, like, guys, 20 hours used to be a good week. Now it's like, no, that's like that's like recovery mode. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy the hours these guys and miles they'll put in, and it's like the normal person doesn't get that, and they don't show as much respect to that at all. Like, a pro rider will show up, and instantly someone will start comparing themselves to that rider, and it's like, no, man, get out of here. That guy sacrificed everything. Like, he was willing to go broke and pursue this, and he did get it. You know what I mean? Like, have some respect on these pro riders who are doing it.
It's so weird that people do that. The non-cyclist has no idea what the difference between.
It's just our ego. We like to think we're a bit better than we are at things.
I guess.
We love to see something on TV and be like, we're all guilty of it. We're all like, man, I could do that. I'm sure people say that all the time about my artwork. Oh, man, I could paint that.
And do it. Yeah, exactly.
Go do it. Go make the money I'm making and go sell it. Quit complaining on Instagram and hating on life. Like, go do it.
Well, my power meter showed me real fast that I'll never be a pro. And I have a lot of respect for any pro, just because, I know
Incredible.
I've been a fan of the sport for a long time, and I got into the power and training, like, more serious late in my life after I got out of the Navy. And I knew real quick that wasn't happening. I'll do well to be a Cat 3, like that. And that's fine. Like,
Yeah.
I'm 40 years old. I don't want to be a pro. That's not the life for me.
People just need to accept that, that it's like, why do you need to be a pro to like put a stamp on that this is cool?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, why do you need to go fast to put a stamp on that this is cool what you're doing? Like, no, you can go cruise for 15 minutes on your bike with your daughter, and the bike is just as cool as riding 6 hours that day. You know what I mean?
And I think people forget to have fun, and that's why I was talking to you earlier about, the off the front cycling and like trying to have an inclusive group. I even looked at the word collective, because that's what I want it to be, like just a bunch of people who love riding bikes that want to have fun, and they're not getting wrapped around the numbers and staring at their computers. And there's a time for that, for those that want to do that. But like, I think so many people, and especially so many cyclists and road cyclists especially, just forget to have fun. And I've heard, like the gravel scene is a lot of fun. My brother races mountain bikes, and he always tells me, and I see these pictures of like the races look like a lot more fun before and after. And you're right. The road scene is pretty high strung, to put it mildly. So tell me also, so what are your future goals? What are you looking at the next few years?
Man, I don't even know where I'm gonna be tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Literally, it's not goals are good if you're on a structure-based like path, but like the life I live, I'm not on a structure-based path, so it does no good to set. Like, I'll set like kind of goals, but like, you go from selling a painting for $3,000 to $11,000 in an instant. Like, it's just a message from someone. So I could get a message tonight saying, asking to do 3 paintings, at, $10,000 a piece, and then you're doing $30,000 in one night, So then you're like, again, about building those goals and building this. It's like, for me, it's just me coming out to the studio and just creating, it's like, I know, and me just going out on my bike and just riding and training. And it's like, you do good and you just focus on that present moment, good comes out of it. Like, and then you don't overthink it. You're not going to be like, oh man, this opportunity came up, but it's not what I wanted. The goal, it's like, it's an opportunity. Like if you had this goal, then it seems like a negative thing. But if you didn't have a goal, then it's a way positive thing. You know what I mean? Like, so for me, it's just about every day, literally just pulling the greatest out of myself. Because I mean, also like, I'm honestly realistic and also smart enough to know too, like, I mean, I could die tonight, I could die tomorrow, anybody can die at any time. So to plan for 6 years, to plan for 10 years, to plan like to live your life like that, it's just foolish. Like it's, you know, it's not like I'm out spending my money, not at all. I'm smart enough to know like our lives are fragile. And accidents happen every single day, any moment of time. And especially with riding a bike, accidents could happen any moment. So I'm super smart with living my life and loving my life and not like overthinking it and not trying to do things because the man told me to do it or because the boss told me to do it. It's like, nah, if I want to ditch out on this race because it's my daughter's birthday, guess what? I'm going to ditch out on this race. Like, you know what I mean? It's just, you're doing things right, life will come back to you, you know, and like you just have to focus on doing your product. You have to focus on your whatever you're doing. And that's for me, my art, you know, and like you just keep putting into that. And then someone hits you up. Like I just had Floyd hit me up and like me and him are going to do something cool with like his cannabis company, you know, like putting my art on his like containers or something cool like that. You know what I mean? Or like maybe for his CBD one. And it's like, it's just about thinking outside the box and like, oh man, if you do this, other opportunities will arise. It's not just like, oh, I'm going to stick with this, and not seek out anything else or not allow any other blessings to come in. You know, that's again why I created Imaginary Collective. It's like, it's not a team. It's not I don't even know what to call it most of the time. Cause it's like, if brands hit me up or someone hits me up, I want to be able to go down that road or this road or that road. It's not, oh, sorry, we don't do that. We're just focused on this path.
That's cool. That is cool.
So yeah, I could be in 6 years, I could be super into architecture at that time. I could be selling my art for $1 million. I could be riding my bike. I could be homeless. I could be anything can happen in 6 years. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be homeless. I'm not. My mentality is too strong to not be successful at whatever I'm going to do. Like, it's just that. I'm not going to. But you know what I mean? Like, in 6 years, I follow my passion. And so if all of a sudden, like my wife, in the last year, she's discovered yoga and rock climbing and is now a yoga teacher and is one of the best rock climbers at the gym because she goes, 3 hours every day. So again, it's like, I don't know what type of, I hated mountain biking when I was 20. I hated it. And now it's my favorite thing in the world. So again, like, that's why I don't keep my mind in a box and tell myself what I like and I don't like, because we don't know what we like and don't like. And we should be open what we do like, it changes, and be open with, oh man, that's not who I was 5 years ago. That's okay. You're not going to be the same person 5 years ago. And again, guess what? In 10 years span, your body genetically changes anyway. So you're technically not the same person every 10 years. So why should you be doing the same things, in the same way? You should be growing.
Well, that's why it's fun to follow you and follow your career and follow what you're doing, because you never know what it is that you'll be doing, but it's always going to be interesting. And you're always going to be passionate about what you're doing. And like I said, from the moment I heard about you and listened to some of the interviews, I remember listening to a podcast that you were on, I just gravitated toward your personality, into your positivity, because you didn't see it a lot in road cycling, and it was like you were different. Mm-hmm. And I always just really liked that. And so that's why it's fun to see what you're doing and to kind of follow what you're doing. And also, I always dug the turquoise necklace too. I have to admit, I was glad to see that you were still rocking the turquoise necklace, because that is definitely the TJ Eisenhart. That is the signature style right there. So,
yeah, no, definitely doesn't. I mean, I take it off to go to sleep, but it doesn't come off. I've always been that way.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you taking a few minutes and talking with me.
No, I appreciate this podcast. It's been awesome, man. It's been super fun.
You know, for anybody that's toying around with new ideas of how to do cycling differently, and
just do it.
Yeah, just do it and have fun doing it and be passionate about it. So it's awesome. I appreciate it, TJ. Thanks again to TJ Eisenhart for giving us the time to catch up with him this week. It was a huge honor to have TJ on the show and a lot of fun talking to him. He's always a really interesting person to talk to and always a lot of fun. So thanks again to you, TJ. Also, before we go, a quick thanks to Element for their support of the show. Again, if you haven't already tried Element, give them a shot today. Go to their website. You can find the link in the show description to receive your free sample pack for just the cost of shipping. And that's it for this week. Stay tuned next week for another interesting interview. And until then, as always, stay fast, stay strong, and we'll talk soon.